The June 2nd meeting of the Board of Education. I expected to see more people here today, but during that we have vacation time, I'm sure they're out in their outings. Report from actually the roll call is that shows that everybody is here today. All board members are here. Mr. Freitas is getting some water. Would you please stand for the pledge? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report on actions of closed session. Placement of non-public school students. George Neely motion, Gerald Hawkins second. The board approved the placement of non-public school students 2014-15 number 107 and 109 by a vote of 7-0. An appointment. Gerald Hawkins motion, Ralph Womack second, that the board approve Melissa Beatty as the high school assistant principal at Ronald E. McNair High School, effective 7/1/15 by the following vote of 7-0. That's all that's on closed session. Now we have some public hearings. Did I miss the superintendent report? No. It's public hearings and never superintendent. Public hearings are declared open. Local control and accountability plan. There's no action. Is there any comments from the board? Okay, the meeting is declared open on this public session. Second, any comments from the...
Mr. Donovan, members of the board, if we might just as staff briefly give a little information before you open it up to the public. Is that okay?
Yes.
Just to let you know that we are at the point in the process where we are having our public hearing for the LCAP. We've gone through a series of meetings, as you know, public forums, also LCAP committee meetings, and gathered input from students as well. I'm going to ask Mr. Hearn if he wants to make a couple brief comments about the process, and also if Ms. Katowski would like to as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Nava, when we actually open the public hearing for the budget, I will have some comments. Since they're two separate hearings.
Very good.
And again, the budget now reflects the LCAP. They are merged together and go hand in hand, and that's why we now do this in the way that we do, that we have a public hearing prior to the actual adoptions of both the documents, and those public hearings have to be on a separate meeting date than the actual adoption.
Okay, let's back up a little bit on the local control and accountability plan. Ms. Katowski?
I would just like to add that from all of our community forums and budget study sessions with the Board of Education, we've been able to include everything that the board has asked us to include in this LCAP. So we feel it's comprehensive for the next 3 years, but this is just an opportunity for public to give comment to the LCAP. It's a draft until approved by you guys at their next board meeting.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? I declare this public hearing closed. Public hearing declared open on 2015-16 budget adoption. Mr. Hearn.
If we could get the presentation up, please. We have to get Angel in her place.
Angel.
Thank you. Mr. Nava, members of the board, this year is somewhat unusual, as most of our years have been unusual over the last 5 years. And this one having some uniqueness to it again this year. We, of course, had a very good May revise as far as news for education, which gave greater dollars than any of us had anticipated. And we also, fortunately, and hopefully we will have the settlements that we're looking at today also come into play in a very short period of time, actually less than 1 week. So this budget is approximately correct and absolutely wrong. It does not reflect any type of what might be new labor costs. So when looking at the budget and looking at fund balances, they are all at this point in time correct. However, once we put in the new labor costs, it will change, and it'll change drastically. We have 45 days from the approval of the board and the bargaining units to put in the AB 1200 to make those corrections. And those corrections will be in the AB 1200, and then you will also see a budget revision for that. So keeping that in mind when we're looking at the budget today in the public hearing, those factors come into play. This page is correct, and this is the dollars that we are going to receive for this year, and it's based on the LCFF funding formula to get us to fully funded, which would be $262,143,462. And that would, and there's a correction, that now is not the fully funded amount in 2021, it is the fully funded amount in 2018-19. Accelerating what the Department of Finance at the state is telling us, the funding gap will be complete by the 18-19 school year. We start out with what our transition base was in 14-15, which is 204 million. And we take the difference between the 262 and the 204, which gives us 57 million. That's how many dollars we need to get to that 262. With the governor's proposal of funding 53.008, I notice we have 2 points in there, that comes to a total of new funding for this year of $30,605,517. There's a county transfer, which will then also then take us to our full entitlement of $234.5 million. The target now after this will be to 27. So, and the difference from January is 10.9, almost $11 million. So that's the new dollars that we are looking at for this year under LCFS. Change. Thank you. Okay, the revenues are correct. And as you can see, the LCFF sources, it's 85% of our total revenues coming in at $234.5 million. The next largest is other state revenues, and that's dollars such as lottery and special ed and other dollars that are not included in the LCFF source. Federal revenues is 5% at $14.5 million, and a little less than $1 million will be coming in with other local revenues. What is not included in this is also the governor's proposal of giving a one-time dollar amount of $601 per ADA, and that would come to about $16.1 million for the district. There are 3 different proposals that are in Sacramento right now for those dollars. Both the Assembly and Senate have versions. The Assembly and Senate versions do have restrictions to them. The Governor's proposal is non-restrictive. There would be no restrictions to the dollars, and there would be no time limit to them. But when, in fact, we see this coming to us, and it will come to us as a grant, the expectation that the dollars will come to us sometime in the fall, probably September, October, it might be later, and the state is going to, of course, take advantage of when it's best for them to give us the dollars for their cash flow. So it will not be included in any type of regular dollar amount coming in. It will come in most likely as a one-time payment sometime during the fall. And we'll treat that like a grant. As I said, we'll book it when it comes in. We, of course, are going to have a lot of work in front of us to be able to determine how we're going to spend that type of dollar. And if there are any restrictions to it, then we will have to abide by those restrictions. So that's for us to wait to see what's going to happen. One of the reasons why we are seeing the large dollar amount, and it's really because of increased assessed values throughout the state. Not necessarily here in the Central Valley, but the coastal assessed values of property in the state has gone up drastically. And that's where this additional dollar has come from. Most of the coastal school districts and so forth are having larger contributions from their local property tax, which is putting dollars back to the state, which funds districts like us who are about 10% of our local contribution goes to the LCFF source and increase ours. So that's the playoff in the state. Some of the state is doing well on property taxes. Central Valley is not overall, but that's where we're seeing this additional revenue come from. Go to the next slide, please. Now this one's absolutely wrong, because the 1, 2s, and 3s are going to change drastically once we include the new labor costs. But the 4, 5s, and 6s are correct, and they represent, as we said, what is in the local control plan. And as Lisa said, all of the things that you talked about in your workshop have been included in this plan and are included in this expenditure plan. So we're going to see the changes in the 1, 2s, and 3s. Right now we're running about 82% total labor costs in the district. That will go up once the new costs are put in. Go to the next one. Now this one we have to go over, and this is part of the new law, and that's we've expanded the fund balance to explain what each one of those are for. And we want to make sure that we go through that. Revolving cash is for unforeseen and emergency payments. I think we all know what that type of fund is for. Stores is we keep the warehouse at $120,000 in actual materials. Paper, pencils, that type of thing. Prepaid expense. And that one some people get confused on, but let's say someone wants to go to a conference in July, but the best time to pay for it and get the best price is paying for it in June or May. So we pay for that, but it's a cost going into July, so it's a prepaid expense, and that's where we take those types of dollars out of this reserve. The restricted state reserve for RRM and so forth is $6.1 million, and that's also for things such as lottery. RM is routine restricted maintenance. I'm sorry when I use acronyms. And so those are restricted reserves. Grade span adjustment, we put $1 million in there, and this is to cover if, in fact, we get a school that is over-enrolled and their averages go up where the entire district would be penalized. This would either pay for new teachers or for transportation of students if there's actually no physical room left in the school. The Future instructional material adoptions, and this is usually the textbook adoptions, and that has grown from $1 million to $2 million. And go to the next page, please. Programmatic reserve is when we have a multi-year grant. We've talked about those before. We might get a 3-year grant. We get the dollars up front. We have to divide it up into the 3 expenditure years, and so there's a carryover for those grants. Unforeseen special education, bringing that back up to $2 million. This current year, we have spent over $1.4 million out of this reserve for unexpected special education costs. A carryover for sites and departmental is $2.5 million. The contingency reserve is a reserve for unexpected costs. Usually if we get an expense that we didn't anticipate, then there's wasn't put into the budget, then we will pull from this budget. We do that virtually every year. There's always some unknown expense out there that we use, and that's what this reserve is specifically used for. Economic uncertainty for Lodi Unified School District, and this is set at 3%, and it's at $7.9 million. Also, the state reserve of 3% is set at $7.9 million. There is in this budget plan for the first year, there is $0 for any unassigned or non-designated, and then the carryover into 16-17 and 17-18 would be those dollars that are not designated in any portion of the reserve or the budget. Next page, please. Enrollment, we like to always show this to you. This year we were fairly flat. You can see that we're slightly lower than the previous year, down about 40. And for staying flat, we're grateful for that, because as you know, in prior years up until last year, we were heavily declining. But we're no longer declining and staying fairly stable. When we look at the next page, we can see that the cohorts, as we look down for the years, the K-6 are actually doing quite well. If you look at the first line where it says K, and you look at 13, 14, and then there's a line that goes down, and that would be what is now our first graders for 14, 15. You can see that that's grown by 100 students. And if you go down K through 6, you'll see that we can continue to have growth in those areas. Where we're still seeing a decline is particularly heavily at the 9 through 12, and 10 through 12 is at the heaviest. And so that's where we are still losing students. And we have that in graph form just to illustrate that. And that's it. We want to thank Angel and her crew, and Maria and her crew, for doing, again, an outstanding job of putting this budget together. And they will continue to be working on it after today. So now,
thank you, Mr. Hearn, and thank you, Angel. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Mr. Johnston?
Can we go, through the chair, can we go back a couple slides to the reserve piece? Because I know that's been a topic of conversation in Sacramento. No, forward, Todd. Well, we can start there. So through the chair, just a question. Total reserves, restricted, unrestricted, designated and undesignated. What percentage of the operating budget for 15-16 do the reserves account for?
with or without new labor costs?
Both. Surprised me.
We would have to calculate for it. I don't have that number, but because I know it is dropping.
Because I do see that you have 14 million, 14.6 set aside for tentative agreements. But then I also saw, and this slide was particularly interesting to me because I saw the state required 3% minimum of 7.9 million. But then I also saw an additional Lodi Unified uncertainty piece of 7.9 million, which I would assume would equate to 6%. And then adding everything else in, I was just wondering where that put us. Are we at 10? Are we over 10? Are we, where are we hanging?
We're over 10. We see if we can do a quick calculation and get that answer for you. Have another question?
No, that would be the one to start with.
And again, there is, at this point in time, there is no cap on fund balances in the state. The 4 criteria have not been met at this point in time, nor is it anticipated.
Nor is it anticipated, so, okay, so since it's not anticipated, that fills the second question, thanks. I'd be curious about the reserve amount. Sorry.
Angel's got her calculator out.
She's working on it.
Scott Keithley, President Nava, Dr. Washer. Mr. Hearn, I was just curious on, and just for my information, the restricted reserve state funds that's in 2015 is just over 6 million, and by 17-18 it's 4 million. Is there a reason why that drops? Is that this dependent on the state? How they calculate that?
Mr. Nava, through the chair. That's just anticipated. In fact, I am somewhat disappointed that we have a $6.1 million reserve and restricted. I would have liked to have seen more of those dollars spent. But as we anticipate certain dollars to go down for what we believe expenditures will be in those restricted areas, then it will go down.
All right, thank you.
Angel, you have an answer for Mr. Johnston?
Yes. And also to add on to what Mr. Hearn was just speaking of, the 6.1 million will drop after the settlements are entered into the system as well. Part of that will come out of that fund.
Salaries will come out of that.
Our reserves currently prior to settlements are at 14.8%.
Any other comments?
Do we know after about when they're going to be?
Ask me again in October.
How about after adopted budget?
Thank you, Mr. Hearn. Angel, I declare this public hearing closed.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes, sir, Mr. Neely.
I'm sorry, my fault, but I didn't know that we were having a public hearing at that time on the LCAP. Opportunity to ask a question.
You bet, we can go back. I don't have any
Just
problem with
ask
that,
a quick,
sir.
we don't even have to back up anything. Just a quick question for Lisa and everybody involved. Because I read that thing and it killed me. There are so many copy and paste things on that. Is that the format that we have to use? I mean, my gosh, we should just be able to, on the next year, say, see previous year, or something. That is, what is it, it's an 87-page document or something?
Mr. Neely, members of the board, we do have a template from the state that we must follow, and
State template. That is just incredible.
Mr.
I mean,
Nava,
there is 3 or 4 pages of good information in there, and then the rest of it's repeated. You know?
it's even worse than a state template. It is a California Department of Education template.
All right, Mr. Neely.
That's all.
the revised version, the new and approved version.
All right, we have another public hearing. Declare this open. Spending determination with respect to fiscal year 2015-16, monies received from the Education Protection Account. Mr. Hearn.
Yes, the protection is that we have to assure that the dollars that we receive from those dollars go directly to basically the classroom, to education. And we put 100% of those dollars into teachers' salaries.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? I declare this public hearing closed. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, members of the board. I would like to introduce you to Evan Hust. He is our intern in our office. He's been here last couple of board meetings, working on his studies. As part of that, he has chosen Lodi Unified School District to be an intern. He's working on public policy and those kinds of issues. So we have him heavily involved in the LCAP template reading and revising. So he also has been through that document several times. So welcome to Evan. I just want to thank you for your participation in the graduations. The schools love to see you out there. I know that the public loves to see you out there. So thank you so much in the exciting time of sending our kids off into the world. I do want to tell you a little story. And this is the story of Thuyen Tran. McNair High School graduation. And I want to take you back a little bit. Thuyen came to this country as a child and moved with her family into the Claremont area. She was a 4th grade student when she entered Claremont, speaking no English. Her principal was Susan Hitchcock. Susan Hitchcock took a special interest in her and saw something in her. And Susan had her read to her almost every day in her office, starting with the primer books from the 1st grade and quickly moving on up. She taught her about school and the culture of school and the ways of school and how to manipulate this, work through the system. And she got to know the family. She saw determination in this young child and as well as keen intelligence, and explained to her what a valedictorian was and what that could mean to her for her future. At McNair High School's graduation, the valedictorian, Miss Tran, thanked Miss Hitchcock for believing in her. And I don't know if you caught that because we were sitting behind and the sound was a little hard to hear. But she said, "Thank you, Miss Hitchcock, for believing in me." And that was the backstory behind that. That not only through her work and determination, but this one principal that she met in the 4th grade saw something in her and sparked her to do well in school throughout her career and gave her that vision of being a valedictorian. And this is just one example of how one educator, in this case a principal, along with the many other educators that Ms. Tran met along the way and encountered through her educational journey, took a special interest in an individual student and helped her to succeed. Pretty soon, Tran will be on her way to an Ivy League college where she has received a full scholarship for her entire college career. And so this is what the backstory is behind the valedictorian at McNair, and it's just one example of how our folks are working with kids every day throughout this entire district to help them succeed. And I thought that was a special story, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. Continuing with the agenda, consent agenda A, routine business. Any board members would like to pull any of the items? Ms. Castle?
A6 for comments.
A6. Anybody else? Mr. Everly?
A3, please.
A3. Any members from the audience would like to pull any items on the routine agenda? If not, then I need the motion to approve the rest. Mr. Neely.
Move to approve the remainder of the consent agenda A.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Tonkin to approve the rest of the consent agenda A. Call for the vote, please. Vote is 7-0. Mr. Heberly, item A3.
Yes, thank you. Just a comment. The transfers, kind of for the ending fund accrual and all that, I have no problem with it because I think it operationally makes sense. But in part of the resolution, it does say that we are delegating authority. However, it mentioned multiple times that the board does in fact retain the responsibility, and that's obvious. So my request with this would be is that if and when we do have to make a transfer like this, that we know kind of the conditions around it, like how much and why. And if that could be just mixed in with our Friday memo, informational memo, or just a separate email, is there a problem in doing that?
Mr. Hearn?
I don't see that would be a problem. We can, and of course, it is documented if we actually have to do it. And as you said, we may not even have to do it. This is just our ability to expedite and have a smooth ending to the school year.
And I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, operation makes sense. Just, I think it would be good for us to know that, and that this would be my only request. And if there are no other questions, I will motion to approve A3.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Heberly, second by Mr. Womack to approve item A3. Call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Ms. Castle, item A6.
Yes, this item is a cooperative contract between Lodi Unified School District and the California State Department of Rehabilitation. And as you can see, the program is called the Transition Partnership Program. And if Liz Zastro doesn't mind, I'm going to clarify a few things as I go along here. So this program is currently underway, and this is to approve a 3-year continuation.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Now, and basically the bottom line is this involves successful employment outcomes for students with disabilities, the students under the Workability Program. Since our last meeting, I had the great privilege of visiting Needham West, which houses the Workability Program under the direction of Liz Zastro, and I have to tell you, this is relevant, so I'm not wandering here. Liz is leading at least 4 programs, and they're best characterized. My visit was one of those visits where I was just continually saying, wow, outstanding, wonderful, Liz and her team. Vibrant, energized, highly proactive programs for the betterment of these children or these young adults with disabilities. Now, back to the contract. It brings to light a part of our own policy that I believe is hindering, I totally intend to approve this contract, the continuation of a wonderful program. But we have a policy in place as a board that is hindering this contract's ability to work at 100%, and I'm going to explain how. What this program does for these children is it counsels them, it coaches them, it prepares them to do what we all want to do, and that is to be productively employed. So that's what this program does very, very well. Liz Zastro has made commendable partnerships with many outside agencies, CVS Pharmacy, Chase Chevrolet, Walgreens, and so forth. There's many more that employ these young adults while they're being supported by this wonderful program. So it's just the perfect plan. Here's where our own policy is a slight hindrance. Let's just imagine that you have a student who is currently in the Transition Partnership Program. That student is approaching the age of 22, which is the age when those young adults have to exit from a public school program such as this. But that's okay, because they are ready and able to join the workforce with the outstanding support and hard work that they've put into this. And now let's imagine, and this actually is a real situation right now, we have a current position within Lodi Unified School District that these students are qualified to do. However, we throw up a huge burden, or a huge barrier, I should say, in that we do not employ anybody as a new employee who doesn't have a high school diploma. And for these workability students, that is not possible. So, in other words, after successfully completing our own program and being very highly qualified and very capable and with a good track record of work, these students then are not able to work for us. So what I would like to do before we vote on this is to simply say, and see if I have support for this from my colleagues, that I would like to get the wheels in motion for us as a board to exempt workability students from the requirement for a high school diploma. Now, it's also going to require CSEA to come up with a category for the students, for these young adults that would fall into this exemption, but I don't see where that would be a problem, hopefully, so I just want to acknowledge that that also would have to happen. But I think we need to get this done. We need to honor these students that have gone successfully through our own programs by then becoming one of these entities that could employ them, since they are qualified if we only get this exemption in line. And I know this can't be done at this moment, but I'd like to see if I have support on the boards for getting this done as soon as possible.
Mr. Neely.
Ms. Castle, you said that all very well, and you have my total support behind that.
Any other comments from the board? I think we have a consensus that we are supporting this.
And Dr. Washer, I would really like to see this come, the exemption part for us at our next board meeting on that agenda.
Or do you have Ms. Castle, I'm not sure that that's possible with all that would need to take place before that could happen. So I cannot guarantee that we can have that in place for the next board meeting.
Would the CSEA part have to come first? Is that?
We would need to make sure that we follow all the right procedures so we can start exploring and researching and working on things, but I cannot guarantee that we will bring you an item for the next board meeting.
Okay, with reasonable due haste.
There you go.
Okay.
One question on that. Of course, we want our employees to have a high school and public education system. We should be promoting the high school diploma. So would this exemption be specifically for our workability students? Okay.
It's my understanding exactly.
Okay.
And along with that, background information would also be helpful as to the types of jobs and those kinds of things.
Okay, Ms. Castle.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve item A6.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Castle, second by Mr. Neely to approve item A6. I call for the vote of the board. Motion carries 7-0. Yeah, Mr. Womack.
I move that we approve student discipline cases.
Okay, been moved by Mr. Womack to approve Agenda B, student discipline cases.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heberly. Call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. These are individual action items pulled from the consent agenda B. Okay. Other action items, world language textbook adoption for Spanish and French. Ms. Katoski.
President Malva, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. We have Cindy Schmier and Todd Osterman here with me tonight to talk about our French and Spanish textbook adoption and selection. Hopefully you will approve it as we go forward, but they will have some comments. I'm sure they'll be able to answer any questions that you may have. Todd is from Lodi High, Cindy is from Croquet, correct? Correct. All right. So, this was an interesting a challenge as we did a language selection for French, 1, 2, 3, 4, AP French, Spanish, 1, 2, 3, 4, AP Spanish Language, AP Spanish Literature, and Spanish for Native Speakers. So those are all of the classes that we had to select textbooks for. Our timeline for the adoption began as school came back into session. We started with the discussion of, well, we kind of thought we were all on the same page about needing a textbook adoption for both French and Spanish, and then there was some discussion about really did we want a new adoption for Spanish, and so we had to walk through that and have some meetings to reach consensus that yes, there was a need to adopt something for Spanish. I think French was always ready to go. It seems like the French are easier to deal with than the Spanish. I'm sorry, it's just more people. That's right, there are fewer. So this is our timeline of meetings that we had. The teachers used some of the programs in the classrooms for a period of time, and then we came back and we had some spirited discussions and made a selection on April 15th, Tax Day. And we're coming to you for approval tonight. We did not take it to Curriculum Council as a presentation, though Curriculum Council did vote by electronic vote to approve the textbooks. There we go. So here are our committee members. We had 17 committee members. There were several from our middle schools as we start Spanish at some of our middle schools, Elkhorn, and each high school had 4 representations for Spanish and French. And so what they did, we got together, we reviewed and selected text, and we used a rating rubric, and you can see in your agenda each rubric that was completed, what the final rubric looked like. But here's just one snapshot of what each committee member had to do for each program that they looked at. There was a multiple page document, I think it was 4 pages, and they looked like at 6 different criteria and then evaluated, was it a 1, 2, 3, or 4? And then we took all of those scores and came to a consensus. The program with the highest score should be the program that we adopt. It was very close. It was very interesting. So for both programs, for both French and Spanish, we adopted from the same publisher, oddly enough, EMC. And one of their big components, I believe, but both Cindy and Todd can speak to that, is the passport. That is the whole electronic version of the book, the dashboard that goes with it, teachers being able to assign assignments, students being able to log on anywhere and do their work, type of things, and performance-based tasks and so forth. This is, I believe, one of the things that the teachers really liked about it, even though we're all at different stages of the level with technology, so we really need some professional development with the technology for passports. You guys want to add anything? These are just kind of some slides to talk about the passport, the technology portion of it, how it is designed for the students and for teachers. You want to add anything?
Can I ask questions about the passport?
Sure.
Does the passport system allow the teacher to add additional materials to it and become part of the curriculum?
You can assign things through Passport that students can do online.
Right.
And also the publisher continually updates the material they're putting on to the Passport as well.
Okay.
So rather than have kids say reading was going on in France 70 years ago when they published the book,
Right.
they're going to have refreshed material that's available online on a more regular basis. So it's authentic things they're reading in the target language and the target culture.
I really appreciate that you guys did this, because as soon as I saw this, without getting into it, I said, why aren't they looking at some online alternatives? And here you did, and I appreciate that very much. I've got some other questions. You want me to wait till you finish your presentation, or? Okay,
Go ahead.
why are we, just speaking about these two languages, do we, I mean, we offer other languages, right? What all do we offer? We offer Japanese, we offer German,
Correct.
Italian.
Italian.
Italian, and we came a year and a half ago with an Italian adoption. And we do have Japanese at Tokay. They haven't come forward to wanting to adopt new materials.
Well, because there are very few Japanese materials out there.
Right.
And so I did show something to Josh, our Japanese teacher, but he said it was college level and too hard for his students. But he preferred to stick with what he was using right now.
Nothing too
Not as
far
much
below
to
that
choose
students.
from.
Right. So does Passport offer the other languages as well?
Not Japanese.
Not Japanese, okay.
I don't.
We didn't ask if it offered Italian or German. I didn't.
No, in fact, one thing I really liked about the publisher EMC is, whereas a lot of other publishers, they know they're going to make a lot of money selling their social science, their math books, EMC actually started with world language, and what made me even happier is they actually started with French first, which that's usually not a huge market.
As it should be.
Yeah, exactly. So they've designed all their curriculum specifically around world languages. I know they're expanding. I know for now the French is done. The Spanish is just about done. In fact, it's going to be really tight in terms of when we receive the textbooks this coming fall, and I imagine they'll expand from there.
Well, okay. That's all I've got for now, but I did want to say I am really happy that we're going in the direction of using digital technology to present instruction to our students. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Yeah, Mr. Heberling?
Is the licensing for the computer use, that's all within that cost? It's all, you
Yes.
put it all together?
Okay, Lisa, continue.
So, one of the things that I wanted to tell you about Passport that I thought was wonderful is that typically when we start a student in, say, Spanish 1 in 9th grade, at the end of the year, they put the Spanish 1 book away, they come and take the Spanish 2 book, and they start working on that. Through Passport, each year, they have access to all the materials from the previous year. They can go back and look at those materials and look at anything that they have access to until they graduate, which I think from our point of view is a pretty powerful thing, so if somebody was struggling with it. So our recommendation for Spanish is EMC Publishing. For AP Spanish Literature, they went with Harcourt, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, Spanish Language with VHL, Spanish for Native Speaker, EMC Levels 4 and 5. And then for, sorry.
Well, I can tell you French is almost the exact same in
Yes,
levels 1
there it
through
is.
4. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's fine, you can tell it.
So 1 through 4 will also be with EMC, and then we also selected FEM, which is the Vista version for the AP exam, which has proved to be perfect.
So then, with our materials we get for 6 years, all the student workbooks, grammar books, vocabulary books for the Life of the Adoption, print and electronic versions of teachers, and the iPassport online learning community comes for the whole Life of the Adoption. And then there is the cost that we project based on the numbers of students in each of the classes.
Another question?
Question, Mr. Heberling?
The AP Spanish and AP French, does the age of the textbook, does that still fall under the AP requirements, that it can't be over 10 years? Or because now it has online, I guess, updates, can those materials be used a little bit longer than the 10-year limit?
Yeah, I hope so. So these are in perfect accordance with the brand new College Board themes. In fact, the title actually means themes in both Spanish and French. So they've come up with these 6 themes that are kind of the global themes of the AP curriculum now. So it's not just about learning the language, they're making sure the kids are making connections with science and technology, with global challenges, with beauty and aesthetics. So it really does blend in nicely with all the other classes. And the AP exam is only 3 years old in French, the reboot. And this is a perfect textbook for us. The first textbook to come out that's a very thorough, does a really thorough job of making sure it covers not only the curriculum, but also different presentational, interpretive, and interpersonal modes of communication. And the Spanish AP exam has just been rebooted in the last year along the same lines. Those are our opinion that Vista did really the best job out there in terms of meeting the new AP exam, and it should be good to go for the next 6-7 years. And they also update the material on a regular basis too. So we'll have new reading materials every year to cover, rather than the same old, say newspaper article that'll be 6-7 years old from now.
Well, that sounds great. And also, I think that the using the technology component is great. Has anyone checked with our technology department to make sure we'll be okay with it?
Yes, we did.
Perfect.
Yes.
I'm happy.
I piloted the level 4 program this year with my AP students, so it worked out pretty well. A couple bumps in the road as they kind of work things out on their end, the publisher's end, but otherwise it was supported quite nicely here.
Because I'm hearing all over that the kids really are enjoying the Google Docs and it's working well.
Any other comments? Yeah, Ms. Castle?
I'm just wondering, as you were piloting these materials with the online component, I know it's not that aspect isn't brand new for some of our students, but overall, how did they like it? That ability to...
Right, I think the biggest learning curve is still with the teachers. Just the idea of kids submitting homework to me, via video or a text or a audio file to submit online, or text or email to me. It's a learning curve, no doubt about it. But they enjoy it.
Yeah, well, and didn't we see that in our Chromebooks, where we thought the kids, whoa, what are they going to? And then no problem, they were right with it from the beginning. But thank you very much, and thank you with having such large committees. That's much appreciated that you had a lot of input then as into the decision.
A lot of discussion. A lot of discussion.
Yes. Any comments from the public?
If I can ask a question, I guess, through the board to Lisa and the teacher.
Sorry, could you state your name for the board?
I'm sorry, Michelle Orgon, teacher, Needham Elementary, and have a high schooler still. You did say you piloted the French. Did you pilot the Spanish?
They may have it at other schools, but there was some kind of shipping problem and we didn't receive them until just before we had to.
Is that why Curriculum Council didn't take a look at the materials?
No, the reason Curriculum Council didn't take a look at the materials is because our decision was one day before the Curriculum Council meeting. We didn't have time to get ourselves together to do a presentation.
Okay. And with technology, my question is, not only does it work, but the policy that we have in place for bringing your own device, making sure that all the high school students at each high school, that we look at that, because it's only, if I understand correctly, and remember, McNair and Krista McAuliffe, that have that access to bring their own device to access this curriculum at school. So, and then working with those kids that are disadvantaged and don't have computers at home, are we looking at lab time, open libraries?
If I may answer, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Kotowski.
We are going one-to-one at certain high schools. I mean, we have a 3-year phase-in, so that we will be one-to-one with computers, so that students will have access during their class time for everybody during the day.
Okay, so the 3-year rollout, they'll have that ability. Next year with the new adoption, with those, how do you see that equity, I guess?
Well, we might, we might speed things along a little faster. We just don't know yet how fast the district has the infrastructure to support getting technology out there.
Okay.
Our current texts also have an online component, and students who tell me that they don't have access at home, they can work in the library at school during lunch, before school, after school.
I've just heard that it's not open at Lodi High, and that is where I'm limiting my understanding of how open and access it is.
You can also do this work on your phone, and as far as I know, all my students have phones.
The data issue I know with students that come back we have students at Needham that come back at high school and ask to download things at our site for high school. So sometimes I think, I don't know, I just want it out there, you know, we've worked a lot on the technology plan, and I don't want to see anybody shortchanged with new adoptions, and it looked like the passport would be an advantage, but I hate to put somebody at a disadvantage, so looking at hours at libraries or computer labs, which I don't think are even at the high schools anymore.
Oh, yeah, computer labs.
So that access. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Any other comments? Thank you, Lisa, gentlemen, lady, for your research and all that, and what are the wishes of the board? Mr. Neely.
This is it. You can't go yet. You gotta wait for the vote.
It's been moved by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Heverly, to approve the world language textbook adoption for Spanish and French. I call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Continue on. Thank you again. Continuing with the agenda, Resolution 2015-28, spending determination with respect to fiscal year 2015-16. Monies received from Education Protection Account, EPA. Mr. Hearns.
We present this for consideration by the board.
Any comments from the board? Mr. Neely.
Second.
Has been moved by Mr. Neely, second by Mr. Talkin to approve Resolution 2015-28. Call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. We have Resolution 2015-29, approving facility lease, a site lease and general construction provisions for the acquisition of the Bear Creek High School athletic facility. Mr. Hearn.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, members of the board. We are asking the board to consider this project, which will put an artificial turf field, which will be state-of-the-art with natural fill, not rubber tires.
I was just going to ask that.
And I thought you might. And also resurfacing and reconditioning of the track.
Mr. Hearn looks great. I saw the pictures of it and all the numbers in there are perfect. State of the art is correct. Any comments from the board?
Mr. Nava.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we put this up. This is coming from Measure L, right?
That is correct, Mr. Neely.
Measure L funds, coming from Measure L funds. Okay.
Move approval.
Mr. Talkin has moved to approve Resolution 2015-29, second by Mr. Womack. I call for the board vote. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, ratification of tentative agreement with the California School Employees Association. Any comments from the board? Hallelujah.
I would move approval.
Okay, been moved by Mr. Talkin to approve, second.
Second.
By Mr. Neely to approve the ratification of the tentative agreement with the California School Employees Association. Call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Continuing on with the ratification of a tentative agreement with Lodi Education Association.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Heberly, second by Mr. Talkin to approve the ratification of tentative agreement with Lodi Education Association. Call for the board vote. Motion carries 0. Ratification of a tentative agreement with Pupil Personnel Association. Mr. Neely has moved. Second by Mr. Womack to approve ratification of tentative agreement with Lodi Pupil Personnel Association. Call for the board vote. Motion carries 7-0. Ratification of the tentative agreement with Lodi Supervisorial Group.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Heberly, second by Mr. Talkin to approve the ratification of tentative agreement with Lodi Supervisorial Group. Call for the board vote. Motion carries 7-0. What a wonderful thing. Whoa. Okay. Personnel matters.
To approve, Mr. Nava.
Mr. Neely has moved to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Heberly to approve personnel matters. Call for the board vote. Motion carries 7-0. Have comments from the public. You have 3 minutes. We have Ms. Claudia Minuti. Ms. Minuti from Berkeley.
Good evening. You've seen me up here before, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank you after the May Revise for the board coming and talking back at the bargaining table and for us to reach an agreement. So I just wanted to come this evening and say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you. Michelle Organ.
Well, first I have to say thank you very much. My children, thank you. And all the teachers in the district and their families, thank you for, since the May Revise, coming up with new numbers and back to the table. I have a little something belated that I'd like to share, some pictures and thank you cards for my students. Dr. Talkin, Mr. Neely, Mrs. Castle, Mr. Womack, Catherine, for coming to my classroom and helping with Read Across America. We finally got pictures developed, and we'll pass those out and say thank you for spending the time in the classroom. The kids really enjoyed it. And Dr. Washer, see on you, I moved too quickly across the classroom. A story I have to share that my little friend who got his first book to take home and put on his shelf, who, when Dr. Washer came to read, stood up and said, "This is my first book I've ever owned." Dr. Washer had provided my class with a class set of books, and it was a touching moment, and he held on to that book, took it out to recess, and read it every recess. It was great. I also have thank yous from Miss Fulmer. She could not be here. Several of you came to her Special Olympics at Needham. So I have a thank you here for Mr. Womack, Mr. Nava, and Mr. Neely. So Ms. Fulmer, thanks you very much for coming out and participating that day in Special Olympics for her SDC classroom. So thank you for being a part of our kids' lives and coming out to the classroom. So I also want everyone to put on their calendar, the first week of March is Read Across America in 2016.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you very much. Comments from employee group representatives? You go first.
President Nava, members of the board, this is what summer looks like. And for that, I'm grateful, as are the 1,450 members of the Lodi Education Association. We are grateful that we were able to resolve bargaining so quickly and that you came to the table with an offer that we could work with. I will let you know that we had over 950 members vote in the ratification election, which took place in less than a week. I think it was about the quickest election the association's ever been able to run. We had a 97% approval rating for ratification, so I do thank you for that. And as a token of gratitude, we wanted to make sure you were aware we left you plenty of parking spots
today at the ESC. With that, I hope you have a great summer.
Thank you, Jeff. Enjoy your summer. Any, Deborah?
Good evenings. I'm Deborah Ladwick, president of CSEA. I also wanted to come here tonight to say thank you. Another school year has come to an end, but we really do appreciate the direction that you gave the district negotiators and that we have been able to ratify our tentative agreement. We have a very large unit as well, about 1,400 members. We had 400. The way we do our balloting is just one day, one time. So we were Friday evening right in this room, and we had almost 450 members that came, which is huge for us. We just have not had that many people come out to voice their opinion in a very long time. So we feel very successful just in getting the word out and getting our members to kind of rally around together. There were a few dissenters. Of the 450 votes, we had about 12 that said no, but everybody else said shut up. So we're good. So I just wanted to mention that I went out to, I was very fortunate, I got to go to Tokay High School's graduation, and I had not been to a Lodi Unified graduation. It was lovely. It was really nice. I can't express an opinion about the venue, except that I thought it was very nice, and that the whole ceremony seemed very centered on the students. The students gave the speeches. It was all about the students, and I really appreciated that. I remember when my daughters graduated and when I graduated, that you had guest speakers and people that were going to tell you about the rest of your life. But this was really about the kids, and it was just really nice. I thought it was a great celebration. It was very well done, very well run, and I just thought it was an excellent end to their educational career at Lodi Unified. So with that, I will leave you and hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you, Deborah. You enjoyed also.
President Allen, members of the board, and Kathy Washer, John Hunt, and I'm the president of LPPA next year. So I'm not official quite yet for another month. I was in on the voting. I do not know the numbers, but I'm sure so many LPPA members were flying to the voting polls. I'm sure it was overwhelming support as well. And we just wanted to say thank you very much. And I will also basically jump on her bandwagon about graduation. Many of you were there at UOP, and I appreciate your involvement, so thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you next year. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have comments from the board members.
President Novel.
Oh yeah, Mr. Freitas. Okay.
Congratulations to the employees of the Lodi Unified School District for the raise you deserve, and much long overdue. So congratulations, round of applause. Four high school graduations in 4 nights. What a task. I think about 5 of us did that. They were spectacular, every single one. So congratulations to all the graduating class in 2015. You made us very, very proud. And you know what, special congratulations to those high schools that recognize those that were going into the military. I think about 2 high schools today and had them stand up and be acknowledged, and that was exceptionally spectacular. So, last but not least, Lodi News Center was sold. The Wybert, if I pronounce it correctly, family has always been very good friends of the district, and we wish them all the best and best of luck. So anyway, great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Mr. Womack.
I'm going to one-up Mr. Freitas here. I went to 5 high school graduations. I also made it over to Plaza Robles, but all of them were very, very well attended, very good. Really enjoyed it. Very upbeat, processes. So, congratulations to all the students. Congratulations to the teachers. I'm glad we have a contract, and that's about it.
Ms. Castle.
Oh, I'd like to say welcome to Evan. This must be fascinating. Have you been here the last couple of months?
I've been here for about 3 weeks.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome to you.
Thank you.
Yes. I too had the great privilege of attending many graduations. I love every one of them. I think it's very special how each graduation has its own personality. We as a district allow that. They just all do it their way. And so going to many, you see all the different personalities come through. Catherine was actually at the one that I'd like to mention this because during the daytime graduations for the elementary schools, the middle schools, they each had little ceremonies. And one of them, where Catherine and I were there, each graduate was given a beautiful single rose, and then they were to award that to someone in the audience. And wow, for those people sitting out there in the audience that got the rose, there were lots of tears, and it was just very special. But they all were. So it was just the best time of year for me is graduation. And what I would like to say to all the employee groups is I can't tell you how much it means to me personally to be at harmony with all of you once again. I like that so much better. So, and I wish everybody a lovely, happy, restful summer.
Thank you, Ms. Gassel. Mr. Talkin? Mr. Everly?
Sure, you know I always have something to say.
I know you do.
I'll piggyback on what was already said with two things. One is negotiations. Great, it's a good thing. And I'll leave it at that. I'm very happy. Also the graduations. The high school graduations, the 8th grade promotions, that's the fun part. It's just really enjoyable to see the kids and the families all smiles. It's really just heartwarming. A couple of middle schools that I went to, on one of them the sun was coming up on this side, and the next day the sun was coming up on this side, so I got a nice even tan anyway. They were out on the blacktop. But the middle school ones, they did a great job too. At their own school, and even though it was outside, the weather cooperated, and it was a lot of fun. But I just wish all of them the best of luck. Also, when we were talking about the Spanish and French textbook adoptions, I just don't want to be surprised by what's coming with the next generation science standards. And I did notice that a lot of the professional development calendars that had come out, I didn't see a lot of that on there. I don't know if it's a different venue, as where teachers will kind of get a pre-warning of what's coming, and I'm just hoping that we kind of stay really alert as to what's coming down the pike. We probably are. I just don't know, and I really haven't even asked. It just kind of, that part of it kind of came to mind again when I saw the French and the Spanish textbook adoptions. So anyway, let's make sure we stay with that and really be prepared, because implementation is very important. I know the math thing kind of hit us quickly, and it's kind of good to hear when we had the last meeting report that, sure, we dug in and did it, but we're now collaborating, and all through the year, what worked, what didn't work, and that's great, because that collaboration makes for success for the students on something that the math is totally different and a real hard concept to get, but I just want to make sure things are as easy as possible for students and teachers. And on that, I'm real excited to see how our staffing ratio changes that we have put in finish out. I know that we, when we went to the 31-to-1, it was kind of, late in the spring. Probably, I think it was almost like May or something when we did that. And so we knew going in we were going to have a lot of 120% teachers, and we knew that there were going to be some difficult filling the slots. I just want us, I'm hoping that everything works out and that we can hire some quality people and get them in place so that the staffing ratios are much smoother, because anyone who's involved in secondary knows that if you don't have the bodies, you can't have the programs, and that's just the way it is. So anyway, with that, have a great summer.
Thank you, Mr. Everly. I'll tell you, if you get one of a full can, take up golfing a little bit.
Yeah, you've never obviously seen me try to golf. Notice how I say try.
Mr. Neely.
Thank you, sir. High school graduation, first year I missed 2 of them. I missed Tokay because I was sick. And Friday night in Lodi, my alma mater graduated. I was attending my retirement party from Able Charter High School. So I've got 8 days left to work, and I joined the ranks of the retired, me and Catherine. So they went great. I really enjoyed them. Again, we should be maybe talking about trying to get the Lodi graduations back to the Great Bowl. I know we talked about that 2x2. I'd like to know what kind of progress we're making on that in the near future, if we've got the committee together and how we're going. To our employee groups, I am so happy that this is over. Congratulations to everybody on this. It looked to be a true win-win situation. Win-win-win. So I'm very happy about that. Now I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, and what I want to talk about is I don't want it to be misconstrued as negotiations, because I'm not going to negotiate, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that I think that ought to be included maybe when we start talking again. Now, I hope we don't wait. I mean, we bought ourselves a little bit of breathing room here. We got 2 years. I hope we don't wait until the contract is about to expire in 15, 16 to start talking about things and maybe, some of the different things that we can do. I heard several times mentioned, and Mr. Johnson, I think you mentioned this once or twice too, and if I'm mistaken, by all means, correct me on this, but that we need to retain the best, and we need to pay for it. And I think that is a true statement. My question starts to come in is, how do we know who the best are? Is it everybody? I mean, by simply saying the best, that means that there are some that are better than others. And we wouldn't know anything about that given our evaluation system, because it's a pass-fail system. We've got some time now. Maybe we ought to start looking at some different ways of doing the evaluation. Maybe we should start looking at some different ways of compensating our teachers in general. And I'm not saying replace anything. I'm saying supplement it. I'm not saying anybody takes a pay downturn, but maybe some people get some extra money. And what would that be? Well, from my business experience, I'll tell you that there are a couple of reasons behind a compensation plan, what you want to do with it. First of all, you want to attract new talent. That's a big deal. And that was mentioned several times during the last 3 months. We want to attract new talent. So I'll come back to that in a second. The second one is you want to retain the best talent. And, okay, that was mentioned also. We'll come back to that. And the third thing is, typically in business, you want to reward specific performance. Okay? Now, again, this is not negotiations, guys. This is just what just about compensation plans in general. Now, when we look at attracting new talent, we're looking at the bottom line of where our pay scale is, because that's mostly where they come in. They come in other ways, but we get a lot of them right in there. Our pay scale has been designed, as I was told, to be square. Now, of all my years in business, that's one thing that we never attributed to a salary schedule or compensation plan, was to be square. That really doesn't do anything for anybody. So why don't we start looking at ideas like, nobody loses money, but you take, there's a 15% difference between a first-year teacher and a 5-year teacher. 15%. Why don't we take 10% of that, put it on the lower end, and then just increase it 1% each year? That way, everybody in that area gets more money, and but you've got more money down at the bottom to attract new teachers. So everybody gains out of it. But that's just a thought that we should maybe look at something like that. Retaining the best talent. actually got online and looked at all the other pay schedules. And some of the others don't stop where ours does. That may be something we want to look at. Also, retaining the best talent might be paying those who get additional qualifications more money. Such as, Lori Solis, she is a reading intervention guru. She's gone out and gotten all this training for herself. Maybe we should be paying teachers extra to do things like that. The national qualification that I've heard, certification that I've heard you talk about, maybe that's something we need to take a look at. Maybe we need to create our own specifications, such as a tech trainer and that kind of thing, and pay them extra for that. So I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about if we start talking about it now, rather than wait to that last minute. So I think that would be really important. The third thing that I talked about was reward specific performance. Not all combo teachers are first year teachers. There's a lot of them that are. Far bigger share than any other. So maybe we should be paying stipends, sizable stipends, to those teachers who volunteer and pick up that extra added burden of teaching a combo class. We've got some time now. We've got some breathing room. I don't have all the ideas on this, but I know if we put our heads together and we look out there, we can create a master teacher program, a mentor teacher program. There's so many things we can do if we start now. If we wait to the last minute, we'll be right back where we were again. So, just some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. I actually am elated. As the last meeting I mentioned that hopefully that all these contracts will be ratified before the summer, before you go out for the summer. Jeff, you're right. I've never seen a teachers union ratify a contract so quick as a former teacher. Okay, and it tells you something that we're concerned and that you're concerned and that you're ready to go do your thing in the classroom and so forth. So I'm elated for that. Deborah, the same way. My gosh, you brought them over here, and you had those 12 that you and you got it going, and that's great. I also want to mention that I've been to. I don't know, maybe if I count the years, 50 graduations in my tenure of teaching and board member and other things. And these graduations here in Lodi Unified School District are first class. There's none like it. I've been to several and in other districts, and my gosh, they have a balloon, whistle, boom, and everything going on. This was classic. As a class organization for organizing the graduations, and I was very pleased. And again, somebody mentioned that we talked about the students, and that was focused on the students, not any speeches of anything. I was asked to speak on one of them, and I said I better make it like 2 minutes or 1 minute, get out of here because it's your ceremony, that type of thing. Again, I want to wish everybody a nice a couple of months, maybe, not quite, but enjoy it. And I'm sure that I wish we had 150 teachers here so they would be hearing me what I said, but unfortunately we don't, but they will get the message. Again, thank you very much, and do we have any comments from the superintendent?
They're watching it on the streaming though.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not aware of that. That's something new to me. See, I'm an ancient. I'm not with tech stuff. You got to tell me how to text.
You're a long way from it.
All right. No comments from the superintendent. Board members, any discussion on board advisory and subcommittee meetings? None? Future agenda items? Mr. Everly?
Yeah, I kind of neglected to bring it up. This is not for an open session agenda item. It's something I wanted to mention before I forget, is that on the contracts that was consent A2, I think. Yeah, A2. There was a thing about the Thurbin Group and Ronald B. McNair, and all I'm asking is if we could get an update in closed session, because it's based around litigation, so it's not a open session thing. If we could just kind of get an update of how that's going and where we are, something.
We have that scheduled.
We have that scheduled.
Well, there you are, huh?
There you are, anticipation,
Thanks.
okay. Mr. Womack has moved to adjourn, second.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Neely, second. Meeting adjourned.